Today we're going to be setting up our Kamado Joe Jr. for the initial burn-in. We're going to start by taking out all of the internal pieces, so the cooking grate and the heat deflector shield, because we want to build our fire and get it to a relatively high temperature. The next step that we're going to do is add in our lump charcoal. Today we're using royal oak because that's what we had at home. The next step is we're going to use our fire starters to ignite the charcoal. We're going to start by using 2 of them, and they're just the little beehives of the paraffin wax. Once they're lit, you'll see that the fire starts really fast because the bottom vent is open, which is causing a lot of air to flow through. You can see the fire starter on the right is already fully engulfed, and it's burning pretty hot. We're going to let them run for 15 or 20 minutes because what we want to see is a good amount of the lump charcoal ignited and some white ash on the outside, which you can see in this image, which is about 15 minutes in. But we're going to actually let it go a little bit longer because it's not quite as hot as we want, and we'd like to see a little bit more ash. So this is 20 minutes in, and it's very hot at this point. It passes the hand test. At this point, we close the grill. We close the bottom vent down to about 2 fingers. So that's about 2 inches, a 2-inch opening, and we open the top completely because we still want to get some flow. Before we proceed to the next step, which is to start adjusting the vents, we want to check the outside of the Kamado to see if it's been heat soaked. Ideally, we want to be able to feel the heat where it's warm to the touch, and we'll know it's completely done when it's hot to the touch. The outside of the dome is warm to the touch, and I wanted to get the heat gun on it to see how hot it was, and it looks like it's about 135, 133 degrees, which is warm but not hot. What we're going to do next is start putting in the internals, so the heat deflector and the grill, so that we can burn off any sort of chemicals from the manufacturing process. And as you can see, the coals are nice and hot, lots of red in there, a good amount of ash on the outside. So we're going to put the heat deflector in the right spot on the bottom part of the grate. It's a little bit of a challenge to get it in there, but we ultimately do get it in, and it's kind of angled because the fire ring in this particular model is actually a little bit small for what it's supposed to be. So I have opened a thing with support to get that started. Now that the heat deflector's in, we're going to put the grill grate, back on top and move on to our next. As you can see, the temperature has gone down about 200 degrees from 450-ish to 225. We left the top vent entirely open and left the bottom vent at about 2 inches. So I'm going to try and adjust that a little bit by closing the top vent and opening the petals at the top to full open to see if we can get that temperature to go up. That seemed to work. The temperature has gone up to around 300, just a little bit under. So I'm going to adjust the petals so that they're about half open, and let's see if we can get the temperature to go even higher. We still have not adjusted the bottom vent. It's still at about 2 inches open. At At this point, it's been another 10 or 15 minutes, and the temperature is still stabilized at 300, even though I changed the setting at the top, and I would have expected to have some change there. So I started to realize that the flow was not flowing properly around the heat deflector because the fire ring is a little too small. So what I'm going to do is take out the grill, take out the heat deflector, and I'm going to move the heat deflector to just under the grill grate so that air can flow freely around the heat deflector and the grill. What this will do is it should allow, a lot higher temperature, and will allow us to kind of season the grill and have it ready for cooking. As expected, the moving the heat deflector allowed the temperature to go up to above 400 degrees. All the other settings are still relatively the same. So this is a good temperature for us to be able to season the inside of the grill. Plus, it's also a lot hotter on the outside. It's moved up to 191 degrees, 213 degrees, depending on kind of where you shoot it. Since we're starting to see some good temperatures on the outside of the grill, and the grill seems to be holding steady at 400 degrees, I was curious what the inside temperatures would be. So the heat deflector and the grill itself are about 520 degrees, which is about 100 degrees hotter than what the probe was reporting. So we let the grill run at 400 plus degrees for about 20 or 30 minutes just to make sure it had a solid burn in, and make sure that all of the chemicals and everything were burned off, all of the interior components. Now we're going to shut down the grill. In a Kamado grill, you actually shut down differently than you do on a kettle grill. Like on my kettle grill, I would just close all the vents, wait for the fire to die out, and wait for it to get cold. On a kettle grill, what you need to do is protect the ceramics. So you start by closing the bottom vent, and you wait till the temperature gets below 400, and I think we're going to try for 350 or 300. It's been about 20 minutes, and you can see that it's still 400 degrees. And that just shows how efficient the ceramics are. They'll keep that heat in there even if the fire is not getting any air from the bottom. It has now been more than an hour, and the temperature has just dropped below 400, so we're not going to wait till it gets to 350s. The next step for us to do is to close the top vent. One issue with the top vent is that it seemed to get a little sticky, so I'm going to have to look at how best to kind of lubricate that so it moves a lot easier. Now been about an hour and 30 minutes, and it's below 200. It's probably around 150, 160 maybe, and it's still warm to the touch. I'm not going to put the top on. I'm going to give it a little bit longer to cool down. And the inside is definitely hot. It's now been an hour and 45 minutes, and the temperature is at the lowest setting on the thermometer. The outside of the Kamado is warm-ish, but it's cool enough. So we can start putting the top on. All told, it took about 2 hours, maybe a little bit longer than 2 hours, for the Kamado to cool down after just taking it to 400 degrees. As we do hotter cooks, we'll keep track of how long it takes for it to cool down. If you like this video and would like to see more, please subscribe and like this video. It really makes a big difference for us. Thank you.